Good morning, Corpus Christi, Coastal Bend, and listeners worldwide. Welcome on in to another edition of the Sunday Sports Rush right here on News Talk KEYS 1440 AM and 98.7 FM. I am your host, James Espinosa, joined, of course, by my producer and co-host behind the glass. It's Adin Ducker.
What's Gucci with it?
We do have Alex Weister in the building this morning, co-hosting and sitting right across from me. What's up, Alex?
Good to be here another Sunday, and happy Father's Day to everybody.
Yeah, shout out.
I want to give a massive shout out to my dad. I know he's probably out there listening.
Yeah, shout out to Mr. Weister. Shout out to my father, Mr. Espinosa, Edward Espinosa. Appreciate you, Dad. Love you. And shout out to all the fathers out there holding it down. Happy Father's Day, guys. Do absolutely nothing today, if you can, and just sit back, relax, maybe pop a top, do whatever you please, but have a great Father's Day from us at the Sunday Sports Rush. There we go. We got a packed show for you today. It's episode number 121. We do have a special guest coming up at 10:30 a.m. It is Michael Connor of Sports Talk 790. He is their Astros insider, and the Astros have been struggling. He's going to help us make sense of all that. They've lost 8 out of 11 games, so we'll get Michael Connor's take on that at 10:30 a.m. Make sure you stick around. Coming up in the first hour at 9:50, we take a look at the Longhorns and the new 2024 SEC schedule, including 3 things to watch for when the Longhorns enter the SEC. At 9:30, the Wemby era is almost here. We talk Spurs and their latest rumors pertaining the draft and free agency. At 9:20, we have another edition of the news. But right now, let's go ahead and dive into our first topic of the show. It is NBA talk. The Nuggets are the NBA champions. They did it. They defeated the Miami Heat in 5 games. A gentleman's sweep. Game 5 was in Denver, and the Nuggets won 94-89. We have the audio of the final call of the Nuggets winning the championship. This is courtesy of Jason Cosmic and Scott Hastings of the Altitude Sports Radio Network in Denver. Here's the final call when Denver became NBA champions.
So here we go. Kyle Lowry will inbound it. The Nuggets lead it by 5. Denver looking to win the NBA championship. And here we go. Lowry looks in. Inbound. Over to Strus. Lowry 3. That one misses. Rebound down to KCP. 8 seconds left to go. Casey's across the timeline. And he'll dribble it out. The 47-year wait is over. The Denver Nuggets stand on top of the NBA world. They are champions. And Nuggets fans from sea to shining sea can rest or die in peace.
Amazing call by Jason Cosmic right there of the Altitude Sports Network. You got to always appreciate the local radio guy who has broadcasted 80-plus games and gets that final call, that final moment. That's a moment that I dream of to have. And that final line, Nuggets fans from sea to shining sea can finally rest or die in peace.
Completely unhinged, and I'm so for it. And I feel like that last part was like him speaking personally, like, finally, I can finally rest now knowing that my team won the championship. And, I mean, it was a fantastic series from the Nuggets. I mean, watching them throughout the playoffs, after round, it was like, yeah, this is looking like a wrap.
361-882-5397. 361-882-5397. Hit us up on the text line this morning. I want to hear from you guys out there. Give us your thoughts on the Nuggets. Give us your thoughts on Nikola Jokic, who won the NBA Finals MVP. Now, let's just talk about the numbers that Nikola Jokic had in his first trip to the NBA Finals, all right? Averaged 30.2 points per game. 14 rebounds per game, and 7.2 assists per game. Nikola Jokic was on another level. And I think to the NBA casual out there, to those who might not follow the NBA as closely as others, you might not have realized just how great Nikola Jokic was. But the signs have been there. The reigning 2-time MVP should have been a 3-time MVP this year over Joel Embiid. Let's just be real. But Nikola Jokic did the thing, and I think he opened up a lot of eyes. This guy was drafted 41st overall back in 2014, a second-round pick. Now he's a 5-time NBA All-Star, a 2-time MVP, and now an NBA champion and an NBA Finals MVP in year 8. Are we entering, guys, the Nikola Jokic era in the NBA, or is this just going to be a one-off? What do we think about that? 361-882-5397. I'll start with Aiden.
I don't think this is going to be a one-off just because of how dominant they were in the postseason. I think they were tied for the 5th best record in the playoffs. I need to find the chart, but I saw this on Scott Van Pelt after Game 5, and all the other teams that were listed were a part of dynasty teams. I think it was the 01 Lakers were on there, the 17 Warriors, the 96 Bulls. I think that was another one, and I forgot there was one more, but like the Nuggets were had the 5th best, and they were like, and I think Leg was pointing out like all those other teams were dynasties at one point. So I do think the Nuggets, because they have everything in place to win at least another championship, within the next few seasons and whatnot. And I think their only notable free agent this year is Bruce Brown, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't checked for sure, but that makes sense as Michael Malone was going around talking. Of course, Bruce Brown's coming back.
But their whole starting 5 is coming back. And then whenever you win a championship, you're gonna get. There's always solid veteran role players that haven't won a ring that are going to be interested in and joining the Nuggets and whatnot, especially with how their 2 stars play. Jamal Murray led them in assists in the finals.
Yeah,
right? And usually it's Jokic, and the Heat were forcing Jamal Murray to pass it more, and he's a hybrid guard. He can play shooting guard and point guard whenever he's needed. So.
Now, what do you got to say to the detractors out there? Because this narrative has been floated out about the Nuggets and about their postseason run. Oh, they played the Timberwolves in the first round. Oh, well, they played the Suns, who weren't that good this year. Oh, they played the Lakers, who were the 7th seed in the conference finals. Oh, they played the Heat, who are the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. They didn't have to go through anybody tough. This is one of the easiest finals runs ever. There's people who are saying that out there. I promise you that.
So a lot of people have the Nuggets favoring the finals. However, there was a lot of people saying that the Suns, KD and Booker can beat them. There was Lakers fans after they got off that high of beating the Warriors, and especially like LeBron fans like you. You had a lot of the media saying that the Lakers are going to beat the Nuggets. Like, oh, the Nuggets haven't won anything.
Hand up. I did call Lakers over Nuggets. I did say that the Nuggets had no depth. I was completely wrong. I was wrong. Okay, I admit it.
And then you play with who you're in front of. I mean, you can't. It's not the Nuggets' fault that the Grizzlies, Kings, Warriors, and all them other teams, that were expected to be deeper in the playoffs, crap the bed. Like.
And I just want to point out some of those matchups that you were talking about, like the Timberwolves and the Suns. Look at who the star players are on those teams, starting with Minnesota, Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards. Their 2 best players play the same position as the Nuggets' 2 best players, meaning they should have matched up a little bit better. Look at the Suns. They have arguably the best scorer of all time in Kevin Durant, who can guard a lot of different positions, and then they have Devin Booker, who should have been able to match up against Jamal Murray, and they couldn't. Look at the Lakers. They have Anthony Davis, one of the greatest defensive big men in the league. He couldn't match up against Jokic. And LeBron, I mean, he's not a bad defender by any means. He was on all defensive teams before. And look at him. He couldn't defend this team either.
Yeah, it's not like they went out and faced a lot of spares. You know what I mean? Like this, in my opinion, it's a legitimate run. Anytime you win a title, it's a legitimate run. And there's only one team that could lift that trophy at the end. It doesn't matter how you get there, like Aiden said earlier.
And when you're the number 1 seed, you automatically face the 8th seed in the first round, and then the winner of the 4 and 5 matchup in the second round as the number 1 seed. So,
wow, what? You're telling me that being the best team in the regular season as the number 1 seed makes your path to the NBA Finals a little bit easier? No way!
I mean, it's not their fault. The Lakers upset a couple teams, and then the Heat, they beat the Bucks and Celtics. It's supposed to be, are you more impressed that that they didn't face the Bucks or the Celtics in the finals.
I mean,
they weren't even good enough to make it.
The Heat were on one of the most improbable and impressive playoff runs since like the Rockets in the early 90s. They were facing teams that they should not have beat but did, with a roster constructed of players that you would have never expected would have helped carry them to a final.
Make sure you hit us up on the text line. We're talking Nuggets. We're talking their NBA championship. Does this team have what it takes to sustain this for next year and years to come? Can they get another couple of titles out of this core that they have with Jokic and Murray and company? 361-882-5397. Hit us up on the text line. Another note that I thought was pretty fascinating here for the Nuggets postseason run was the Nuggets lost just 4 games during this postseason and didn't face elimination once. Those 4 losses are the 4th fewest by any team en route to its first ever championship since the playoffs went to 16 teams back in 1984. Never faced elimination once, Alex.
And this team, the main reason why I think they will sustain this success is we've seen them in the playoffs the last few years. Like, they've made it to the playoffs and been a good seed. But what has been the one thing that we have said about the Nuggets every single one of those years that has been their biggest downside? Their health. And what happened this year? They stayed healthy, and look what happened.
I feel that's, the Nuggets were the healthiest team at the end of the thing, but I feel like you could say that a lot of good teams need to be healthy in order to make it far.
Well, they weren't just missing role players. They were missing like Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., who, I mean, was like their 4th leading scorer, but nonetheless, he's still a key part of that team.
Yeah, you're right about that. And before we hit the break, I want to go ahead and play that Nikola Jokic audio, the famous audio post-game after the finals where a reporter asked him about the parade, and then Nikola Jokic just had one of the all-time responses. Here is the NBA Finals MVP, Nikola Jokic.
You said after the Lakers win, you said you were surprised that you didn't feel more. So I'm curious what you are feeling right now, and if you're looking forward to a parade coming up in Denver.
When is parade? When is parade?
Thursday.
No. I need to go home. Hello. Okay.
I need to go home.
You know what's funny? After the fact, he soaked up all the festivities, and now it doesn't look like he wants to go home.
No.
He wants to keep on. He's doing the Ovechkin thing, where he wants to keep on celebrating.
They've been partying, man. There's videos of Jokic out in Vegas at a nightclub dancing his ass off. Of course, at the parade where he said to the entire city of Denver, he was like, at first, no parade, but now I want to keep blanking parade. Like, yes, like, I love it. I love Nikola Jokic. I love his demeanor, his attitude. It's such a breath of fresh air. He's just a guy who wants to go to work, be great at his job, and then just go home and chill. He sounds like every one of us.
And honestly, you could have just ended that sentence at "he's just a guy," because when you look at him, he's just a guy.
He is, man. He's just one of those dudes. He's very relatable. You know what I mean? He's a very relatable guy. Except for the fact that he is extremely skilled and probably the best player in the NBA right now. So that's going to wrap up our first segment. The Nuggets are the champions. Shout out to Denver. Everybody got high as you know what.
And to the Miami Heat, it was a good Game 5. It was tough, but
That was your best shot. You lost.
That is correct. That's going to wrap up segment number 1. When we come back, we do have the 920 news. Conor McGregor is in some hot water. There's allegations towards Conor McGregor, and we got the latest on Deion Sanders' health. Yes, Deion facing some tough circumstances. It's the 920 news. It's coming up after the break. Sunday Sports Rush, episode 121. It's James, Aiden, and Alex with you till 11 a.m. Get in on the text line. Weigh in with your sports takes. 361-882-5397. That's the number to get in. 361-882-5397. You can also hit us up on Twitter at SportsRush1440. Be interactive with us this morning. We'll get your takes on the air. I do have a question of the day for the audience. Because we were talking about the champions, the Denver Nuggets, right? And we're about to talk about another champion here in a minute or so. But I want to know, out of the 3 teams that we cover, because we are the home of the Spurs, We are the home of the Cowboys, and we are the home of the Longhorns here on News Talk KEYS. Out of the Spurs, Cowboys, and Longhorns, which of these teams will win a title first? Which of these teams will win the next title? The Spurs, Cowboys, or Longhorns? Which franchise or school, right? Longhorns. I guess you could say they're a franchise, the way college athletics is nowadays. Which of these teams wins a title next? Spurs, Cowboys, or Longhorns? 361-882-5397. Hit us up on the text line. That is our question of the day. So what do you got? Spurs, Longhorns, or Cowboys? All right. We'll let that simmer for a little bit. We'll give our thoughts on that a little bit later on. But right now, it's time for the 920 news.
There's a lot of news.
And now the news.
All right. Quick hits here. Deion Sanders might need his left foot amputated, guys. This is not a joke. Deion Sanders might lose his left foot as a result of circulation issues that forced him to have 2 toes amputated back in 2021. Sanders allowed camera crews with the pregame show, I guess that's some kind of YouTube video show they have, to film a meeting with his medical team at the University of Colorado where he's preparing for his first season as head coach. In the 11-minute segment released Friday on YouTube, Sanders met with orthopedic surgeon Dr. Ken Hunt, vascular surgeons Dr. Donald Jones and Dr. Maxwell Voigtler, and athletic trainer Lauren Askevold to discuss his daily plan. And essentially they said, you just have to understand what the risks are. Things can cascade, the doctor said. Sanders said he knows what the risks are. I only have 8 toes, so I understand. But then the doctor goes on to say, if this procedure doesn't work, we are going to have to amputate your left foot. That is crazy for Deion Sanders.
Indeed it is. I mean,
it's pretty sad.
Yeah, it is. I mean, after moving on from Jackson State and going to Colorado, it seems like the limelight really isn't there anymore for him.
Yeah.
And it seems like things are just kind of going downhill with both Colorado and his personal health. And I feel for him, honestly.
I wouldn't say that the limelight has escaped him. I think Colorado is getting some hype. I've seen people prognosticate that, they'll get 5 wins. And that's the kind of hype they're getting.
But the main thing is for me is the amount of decommitments from Colorado that I've seen from highly ranked players.
Allegedly, that's all part of, quote, Deion Sanders' plan to clean house. I don't know. Deion is the ultimate salesperson.
Yeah.
Deion is the ultimate showman as well. He has that going for him. But when it comes to his health, I mean, damn, if he has to lose his left foot because of these circulation issues, that's absolutely tragic. And he did have to miss 3 games back in 2021 because he was having circulation issues, which led to 2 of his toes being amputated. So let's keep a positive thought for prime time out there. Hopefully he doesn't lose his left foot, and hopefully he's able to, be there fully for his first season in Colorado, which they open up the season on September the 2nd at TCU. So that's already a prime marquee game right there. Deion's first game as the head coach of Colorado at TCU on September the 2nd. That's going to be pretty awesome right there. 361-882-5397. Weigh in if you have any thoughts on that. Next story in the 920 news, guys. Oh, God, this one's tough. Conor McGregor has been accused of sexual assault at the NBA Finals during Game 4. Now, this was the same game that Conor McGregor knocked out the Heat mascot and sent him to the ER.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, so according to these allegations, the woman who is accusing Conor McGregor said McGregor violently forced himself on her inside a VIP men's bathroom at the Casilla Center in Miami, according to a letter sent to McGregor and his team. She said that McGregor, quote, aggressively kissed her before also attempting to force her into multiple sexual acts. So, I mean,
wasn't his wife with them? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, but
I don't know if the wife was there. And that's the first thing that came to mind was was his wife there? Because in the social media landscape, he portrays him and his wife as being pretty rock solid. Like she's day one, like she was there before he got famous, all that stuff, But damn,
I mean, it's one of those where I have to, just have to wait till it plays out. Now, if you told me that he punched another elderly man, then I would have believed.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about this, though, is McGregor has been accused of sexual assault 4 previous times, all of them outside of the United States. He has not faced any legal punishment, and at least one of the cases was dropped. So this ain't the first time he's faced sexual assault allegations. I don't know. I mean, look, we said, we'll have to continue to monitor this story. Because
I don't think he's gonna serve any jail time. Maybe there'll be a payment, under the table if there's anything there. But
McGregor's attorney wrote that, quote, Mr. McGregor will not be intimidated. So they're saying that this woman is just trying to, get some money out of the situation. Essentially, that is what Conor McGregor's team is saying. The UFC issued a statement Thursday, saying it was aware of the allegations against McGregor, adding that it, quote, will continue to gather additional details regarding the incident. The UFC will allow the legal process to play out before making any additional statements. So that's the UFC's stance on this situation.
When's this fight with Chandler coming up?
When is that happening?
I don't even know if it is happening.
When's it supposed to happen, though? Or hasn't been announced yet, just Ultimate Fighter?
They're doing the Ultimate Fighter, and then I think after the Ultimate Fighter, that's when they're going to announce when the fight's happening.
Even so, it's still not looking good for him on the Ultimate Fighter.
I mean,
last time I checked, all of his fighters have lost. So it seems like he's not doing too hot on that show.
I mean, because we know Dana to be a moral compass, that everybody should look up to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So who knows if you'll probably still let the fight play out.
I mean, speaking of Dana White, I mean, he was just in trouble a few months ago for getting caught on camera slapping up his wife, which was
not to mention he's also the same man that said women would never fight in the UFC not that long ago.
Interesting. So, a couple of little quick hits on the 920 news, and then shout out real quickly to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Stanley Cup champions, big claps for the Knights. Big claps for the Golden Knights. They took the Stanley Cup, their first ever cup, and I believe in only their 7th season or 6th season, Aiden.
I believe, let me say 18, 19, 20, 21.
It's a pretty short existence.
Their 6th season.
And they defeated the Florida Panthers in 5 games as well.
Yeah, kind of dominated them. I mean, there was times where the Panthers could have been up in the series, had a couple things gone their way, but once Matthew Tkachuk got injured, that was a GG's,
It was definitely.
Knights just had the best team throughout the season. They had a high record and whatnot, and
So there we go. Our question of the day regarding champions. Out of the Cowboys, Spurs, and Longhorns, which team wins the next championship? Out of the Cowboys, Spurs, and Longhorns, which team wins the next championship? 361-882-5397. When we come back, the Wemby era is upon us. How fast can he get the Spurs into contention? We'll talk that after the... Welcome back to the Sunday Sports Rush. James, Aiden, and Alex with you till 11 a.m. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll have some Longhorn talk. We'll, of course, continue our discussion on everything sports. So get in on the text line, 361-882-5397. Real quickly, let's shout out our sponsor. That is right, Crossroads Clinical Research. If you're looking to lose a few pounds, then pay attention. Our friend of the show, Jerry, over at Crossroads Research, has an exciting new study involving a pill version of an amazing medication called Mounjaro. Crossroads is currently looking for volunteers to try this weight loss pill, but there are some conditions. You have to be diabetic, and you have to have some heart issues to qualify for this study. So if you need to lose a few, diabetic, and have heart issues, call our friend and sponsor Jerry over at Crossroads, 361-288-4668. That's 361-288-4668. Thank you to Crossroads Clinical Research for sponsoring the show. At 10:30, we have Michael Connor, Sports Talk 790, Astros insider. He'll be here to help us talk about all the ugliness that's been happening with the Astros franchise. But right now, I did have a question of the day to the listening audience. Which of these 3 teams will win the next title? The Spurs, the Cowboys, or the Longhorns? Keith is in here. He's hitting me up on Facebook. Keith says the Spurs. He says there's far too much competition for recruitment in the NCAA for Texas. They'll be good, but there's far too much competition for them in the SEC. Dallas can't win it all if Jones keeps acting like he's always in charge. He needs to back off and let those he's hired do their jobs. So Keith thinks that the Spurs will win the next title before the Cowboys or the Longhorns.
And you know what? I agree with him.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, because let's say that Victor Wembanyama pans out. I trust, the higher-ups. I trust the Spurs front office over the Cowboys front office, or even the administration in UT, because Sarks, we haven't seen him coach into a championship yet.
No, they haven't even won a Big 12 title.
And then we've seen the Cowboys struggles over the last, 26, 27 seasons to make it to the NFC title game.
Exactly.
And so the Spurs, you still have Popovich there. R.C. Buford's, been running the roster for over at least a couple decades now. And so, yeah.
Even Brian Wright, Spurs general manager, seems
he's been there.
Pretty competent. He's been there for a while. I agree.
Of course, Greg Popovich coaching and all that.
I like Keith's take. We got one more in here. Steven's in here. Steven says simply, it's the race for Sace, and that is a Spurs slogan, the race for number 6. So Steven also thinks that the Spurs are more primed to win the next title over the Cowboys and the Longhorns. 361-882-5397. Weigh in on that. Who wins the next championship, the Spurs, the Longhorns, or the Cowboys? That is our question of the day to the listening audience.
Wait, does each franchise have 5? Or does each? How many chips does the Longhorns have? I know the Cowboys and Spurs have 5.
Man, I think the Longhorns have 5.
I know Royal had 3, and then
I think they have 5. I'll have to do a research, but yeah,
that'd be cool if they were all racing for 6.
George D's in here on the text line 361-882-5397. George says, "Good morning, all. The most likely team to win first, in my opinion, is the Spurs. Pop needs the last ring, and he will get it before he retires. Great show, guys. Happy Father's Day to all." Thank you, George, for getting in this morning.
And my opinion on this is the Longhorns or Cowboys have to win it in the next 2 years. Otherwise, it's going to be the Spurs. Because in the next 2 years, the Spurs, if they keep up the good work that they've been doing in terms of bringing in players that have been solid through the draft, and who knows what they're going to do in free agency, I guarantee within 3 to 4 years, the Spurs would end up winning it.
361-882-5397. Continue to weigh in. That is our question of the day. And speaking of the Spurs, a perfect transition into our topic this segment, because the Wemby era is almost here. Thursday night is the NBA draft. Thursday night, Victor Wembanyama is expected to be the first overall pick, and he will be a San Antonio Spur. I am currently wearing my Victor Wembanyama Spurs Hardwood Classic #1 jersey. I am ready for it. Now, what else is up to play with Wembanyama? Well, just this past week, and this is an article by our good friend Jeff Garcia of Ken's 5 San Antonio, he had an article where Victor Wembanyama was caught on camera after his French League Finals game against Monaco, saying that he was going to play, quote, a little bit of Summer League. So Wembanyama has plans to play in the Summer League. We know that the Spurs had come out and said that there's rumors that he wouldn't play Summer League. But Wembanyama wants to play Summer League. And I guess, all right, that's fine. Maybe play a quarter, maybe play a half. I don't think he should play too much, but Wemby says he will play. Now, Wembanyama just wrapped up the French League Finals. His team lost to Monaco. Monaco won the French League, but in the regular season, Wemby put up 21 points, 3 blocks, had about 10.5 rebounds per game, shot 47% from the floor in 34 total games for Metropolitans 92. So, had a pretty decent French League, I'd say. And if you watch the highlights on Wemby, you already know what this kid is. You've already seen it. And I'm excited to see how he grows into his NBA body. How do the Spurs get the most out of his 7'5" frame? What will they do? What position will Wembanyama play? Is he going to be the starting number 5, the center? Or is he going to play more of a power forward number 4, a la Tim Duncan? Now, Tim Duncan played both power forward and center. Yeah. And there's a debate if, was Duncan really a center? Was he really a power forward?
His most dominant years were at power forward.
Yes, and that's what I think of him as a power forward.
I think they're going to have Wembanyama in his rookie season play the power forward spot. I don't think they're going to want him down low as the 5, banging with some of the bigs in the NBA. I think they're going to want to use his athleticism at the 4, and he could be a stretch 4. He could be a power 4. I see that with Wembanyama.
You got to put him at, I mean,
where would you have him?
He's got to be a center, man, because unless you get a Brook Lopez from the Bucks, then I could be like, okay, then you can put him at power forward. Like, Giannis is a power forward. I'm pretty sure, the Bucks might ask him to play center here and there if they lose Brook Lopez. Get somebody solid like that, then I can understand putting him power forward. But you gotta be able to play center
now
if we don't have anybody there, because you have Sochan, but I think Sochan's more of a stretch. I think he could be a stretch power forward. Then you have Keldon Johnson at your 3.
Yeah, and then you have Devin Vassell, who's also kind of a 3, /2. So the roster composition is going to be interesting to see how the Spurs go with it. As it currently stands, though, Zach Collins would be the starting center in the lineup with the Spurs, which is not bad, but the Spurs have a lot of money to play with. They could go out and get a veteran big. Now, what else are the Spurs working with here in the NBA draft? Of course, they got pick number 1. We all know that. But they also got pick number 33, and they got pick number 44 from Toronto. So they have a couple of second-round picks, and this past week I read a really good article on the Spurs from Matthew Tynan, who covers the Spurs on the Substack Corporate Knowledge. Really good stuff out there. I want to try to get him on the show soon. He says that the Spurs are involved in tons of draft trade talk, that the Spurs could possibly find suitors in the middle portion of the first round to jump up if one of these guys falls. Now, some of the teams that the Spurs could be doing business with, you have the Lakers with pick number 17. You have at pick number 18, the Warriors. You have pick number 19, the Heat. Those are 3 teams that if you're a Spurs fan, you got to keep your eye on those 3 teams, because those are possible spots where the Spurs could jump into the top portion or in the middle of the first round. Now, there are some names, guys, that the Spurs are interested in if they were to jump up, all right? You got Anthony Black, point guard out of Arkansas. You got Kobe Buffkin, point guard out of Michigan. You got Cason Wallace, who's a guard, 6'3" with a 6'9" wingspan. You got Jalen Hood-Schifino, who's a guard out of Indiana. You see where I'm going here? Guard. You got Keontae George, guard from Baylor. You have Wemby's teammate, Bilal Coulibaly, who's a 6'6" athletic freak, if you watch his highlights. And then you got Jarris Walker, who's a big wing out of Houston. Those are the 7 names that the Spurs have a keen interest in. If any of those guys were to fall, you could possibly see the Spurs package some of their future picks and move up into the top 15 to like the top 9 area and grab one of those guys. So make sure you watch out for that, Spurs fans. Another thing, Spurs free agency rumors are heating up. 2 names that have been floated towards the Spurs: Chris Paul and Fred VanVleet. Now, if the Spurs were to use some of that money on one of these veterans, which of these veterans would you want on the Spurs? Chris Paul or Fred VanVleet?
Fred VanVleet's he plays more like a 2 guard, so
yeah.
I feel like we need a point guard like Chris Paul. The thing is, he's older now, more injury prone. Fred VanVleet doesn't hurt. Maybe you can slide him in the 2 guard and then have Vassell come off the bench as a six man. But I probably lean towards Chris Paul just because he can run the point and not,
361-882-5397.
At the same time, I think VanVleet's more attainable because it looks like Chris Paul might be a Laker.
Yeah.
So it's leaning to LeBron might be like, okay, let's try to see if he can win a ring with me.
But as it currently stands, Chris Paul, the Vegas odds have the Spurs as the number 1 destination for Chris Paul.
Really?
I don't know what Vegas knows, but the wise guys in the desert, they have their sources. And right now, the favorite to land Chris Paul is the San Antonio Spurs. Now, this is my thing on Chris Paul. Yeah, it'll probably be for a couple years at max. What is he, 38 years old already?
30. Yeah, he's up there.
He is up there, but I can see him being that veteran point guard who's going to play the pick and roll with Wemby, who's going to, lead that team. And if they do bring in Chris Paul, they better bring Trey Jones back to be his backup. I could see Trey Jones learning from Chris Paul. Like, I don't see Chris Paul as a detriment to this roster, but he wouldn't be my preferred choice. I would go with Fred VanVleet. He's younger. He has championship experience. He did win that one with Toronto. He, in my opinion, can play the point guard as well, but like Aiden said, he's more of a two guard, more of a scorer. I just think the Spurs need somebody who can light it up at will, and Fred VanVleet can be that guy. Fred VanVleet has put up numbers. Fred VanVleet does go off at times and puts up points and puts up buckets. So if I were picking, if it was up to James Espinosa here in Corpus Christi, I would go Fred VanVleet over Chris Paul as my preferred free agent in this year's class. 361-882-5397. Spurs fans out there, who would you prefer, Chris Paul or Fred VanVleet in free agency? Hit us up on the text line, 361-882-5397. When we come back, we do have some Longhorns notes to get to. We also will be reading your text and the question of the day. Which team wins the next title? The Spurs, the Cowboys, or the Longhorns? We're answering your questions next on the Sunday Sports Rush. Welcome back to the Sunday Sports Rush, episode number 121. It's James, it's Aiden, and it's Alex. We're with you till 11 a.m. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll continue some NBA discussion because Ja Morant suspended for 25 games. Is that too light or just right? We'll debate that coming up in 15 minutes' time. Right now, though, hitting up Twitter, at Just a Spurs Fan on Twitter is in my mentions. At Just a Spurs Fan says, as usual, no mention of the Spurs in the national media. Everyone is sleeping on San Antonio. 2023 should be named the, quote, wake-up call. Rise and shine. Spurs are back! Exclamation point. So, Just a Spurs Fan in here on my Twitter, at Sir Edward James, very excited about the prospects of Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs going forward. Our question of the day, which team wins the title first? Or which team wins their next title first? The Spurs, the Cowboys, or the Longhorns? Jerry is in here on the text line, 361-882-5397. Jerry says, my answer is none of the above. I don't think any will before we've all moved on to the big dirt nap. Wow. Very pessimistic, Jerry. Very, very morbid. None of them will win a title. We're never going to see them win a title before all of us are perished. 361-882-5397. I'm hoping for my sake, just personal, like the team that I'm hoping for the most is obviously the Cowboys. I need to see a Cowboys Super Bowl before I pass away to the next plane. I need it. I've seen 5 Spurs championships. I've celebrated those. I've seen a Longhorns title. I've never in my sports consciousness. I've seen the Astros. Yes, twice. Exactly. I've never in my sports consciousness have seen the Cowboys. Last time they won, I was 5. I didn't get to experience that the way I experienced the others. Personally speaking, I need the Cowboys to do this. I need you, okay? 361-882-5397, our question of the day. Let's go ahead and get one more in here. Luis is in here. Luis says, it would have to be Dallas. Most complete team right now out of the 3. The Horns are still missing a few pieces up front on both sides. The Spurs have way too many questions to even think championships right now. That is Luis's take. 361-882-5397. I don't think the Spurs are as far away as you might think, Luis, like we have discussed. But yeah, they definitely are the furthest in my estimation from winning. But if Wemby pans out, like Alex mentioned earlier in the show, the Cowboys and Longhorns have to win in the next 2 years before Wemby gets going and rolling and before the Spurs construct a roster that can fit what Wembanyama does and bring in some guys to compete for a title. 361-882-5397. We appreciate y'all getting in on the text line this morning. Continue to send your text in. We are the show for you, the show of record here in Corpus Christi and the Coastal Bend. Let's talk some Longhorns. Let's talk some NCAA foosball because, guys, It's around the corner. And this past week, the SEC released the 2024 home and away opponents for the Longhorns. So we know who the Longhorns will be facing in their first year of the SEC. Now, here are the Longhorns' home game opponents in 2024. They will have a home game against the University of Kentucky. Okay. They'll have a home game against Mississippi State. Okay, cool. But then they'll have 2 marquee home games at DKR in Austin. They'll have the Florida Gators coming to Austin, and they'll have the Georgia Bulldogs coming to Austin. Insane to even think about, man.
Yeah, it really is.
This is going to be such a flip of the mind from going to play Iowa State at home, having to play Baylor at home, having to play Texas Tech at home, to all of a sudden you have Georgia and Florida coming to Austin. That is wild.
But it feels right, though, which is the weird thing. It's so different, but yet it feels so right, and I am so for it. I am so glad that this change was made. I mean, I cannot wait to see this new look SEC. I can't wait to see all of these major powerhouse legacy teams absolutely going at each other.
It does feel right, man. And I know there's college football purists out there who are, smashing their dashboards right now, saying, "Y'all guys don't know what you're doing. This is taken away from the sanctity and the traditions of the game." Look, dude, things are about to change in 2024. We're going to a 12-team playoff. The Big Ten is expanding. The SEC is now expanding. The Big 12's even thinking about expanding. It's going to be different, man. And I'm so for this. I want to see the best play the best.
Yes.
I want to see marquee programs play marquee programs. That is what I want. You know what I mean? And this is what we're getting. So now, the road teams that the Longhorns will have to face, they're going to go on the road at Vanderbilt. Okay, cool.
That's light.
Nice little road trip to Nashville. That's going to be a party.
Yeah.
They're going to go on the road to Arkansas. They're going to renew that rivalry.
Ooh.
That is great.
Arkansas.
Damn Arkansas boy, gonna get them Longhorn.
The last Arkansas UT game did not go well.
No, it did not. They definitely whipped UT's ass back in, 2021?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
They will have the neutral game site against Oklahoma. That's still going to happen at the Cotton Bowl. And then the rivalry renewed. They will be on the road at Texas A&M. Oh, yes. It's finally happening. Aggie fan can't hide no more. Aggie fan can't talk your crap no more. We're the only Texas SEC team. Guess what, Aggie fan? They gave you that home game out of pity. They gave you that home game because they didn't want to upset your feelings. Now Texas is coming to town. I cannot wait for this.
And even if UT isn't the winner of this matchup, at least we get to see who is the better team, and we get to see if it really was just
the fact that Texas was in a different conference and one that is probably a bit easier than the SEC. I mean, just having all these Texas matchups again, it's just so nice.
It's going to be nice. They haven't met in 13 years. Texas, of course, got the victory 27-25 off the Justin Tucker 40-yard field goal to win it in College Station. So that's going to be fun. I'm just so excited about this. I'm so excited about the SEC. I think Texas, if they play their cards right, the way Sark has been recruiting, and 2024 will be the first year that young Arch Manning will be slated to be the starter. So that's going to be an interesting storyline to watch as well. That's going to be fun. Now, there are some top marquee games in 2024. With this new SEC, you're going to get Auburn at Alabama, of course. You're going to get Tennessee at OU. We've already talked Texas at Arkansas. OU at Ole Miss. OU at LSU. That's going to be good.
OU's playing UT, right?
Yeah, of course they are.
Okay, that should always be. There's games that always should happen every year.
Yes.
So that's got to be.
They're going to be their permanent rival. Like, they're going to play every year. Alabama will be going to OU in 2024. Alabama's going to have to go on the road to Oklahoma. That's going to be fun. And then a big matchup that we only ever see in the SEC title game is going to happen in the regular season. Georgia is going to Alabama in 2024. That is the new SEC. That's going to be a lot of fun. And as a college football fan, As a Longhorn fan, I am overly excited, and you should be excited as well.
And you want to know one player that we really haven't talked about much since we saw that Refugio Shiner game? Dalton Brooks. He is a defensive back for Texas A&M, which is crazy to think about after watching him run all over Refugio, but he is going to be a freshman. Could we possibly see him play UT? I hope so.
I hope so, too.
That would be something amazing, just being able to see Brooks on the back of that jersey after watching him. That's just going to be something I truly am dreaming of seeing.
Yes. I mean, you said it quite well, man. It's an exciting time for college football. Weigh in on the text line, 361-882-5397. Your thoughts on the Texas schedule, the Texas and Texas A&M rivalry renewed. Get in here, Longhorn and Aggie fan. I want to hear from you. That's going to wrap up hour number 1. When we come back, we have some offseason NBA headlines. Was the Ja Morant suspension too light or just right? We talked that to lead off the second hour. We're broadcasting live from the Americana Arms Studios. Big city selections, small town prices. This is KEYS Corpus Christi. Hour 2 is coming up. Stick around. Good morning, Corpus Christi, Coastal Bend listeners worldwide. Welcome on in to hour number 2 of the Sunday Sports Rush, right here on News Talk KEYS 1440 AM and 98.7 FM. I am your host, James Espinosa, joined alongside co-host Alex Weister.
What's up, everybody?
And behind the glass, co-hosting and producing and doing his damn best to keep us on air, it is Adin Ducker.
Cougars, I love Cougars.
Yeah, I want to give a happy Father's Day shout out to my dad, Philip Jason Ducker. Love you, Dad.
Let's go.
Yeah, always been there for me. And
shout out to...
Still are today, so thank you. Much love.
Much love, baby. Much love to all the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day to everybody, all the dads who are listening along. Happy Father's Day. Hope everybody has a fantastic day, has a safe day, and just kind of relaxes today, you know?
Yeah.
Make this one a good one. And we appreciate y'all guys being here alongside with us.
Yeah, relax today. Be the opposite of me this morning, basically.
Yeah. Don't be almost late to your show.
Gosh.
You know,
I was so tired from yesterday.
Don't have 12 missed alarms.
Yeah, 12 missed alarms. Well,
Jesus.
I forgot to put my volume on my phone.
You're in a damn coma? What happened?
Yeah, I don't
know.
I mean,
That's
12
crazy.
missed alarms?
That is crazy.
That's insane.
No, but my volume was down, so I wasn't able to hear him. But we have a plan. We have a plan set in place because James always gets here before 8, and so we have a plan set in place.
Yeah.
To where I'm here though. So
you are here.
Yeah.
You are here. 361-882-5397. The listening audience is here as well, answering our question of the day, which is, out of the Cowboys, Longhorns, and Spurs, which team wins their next championship? Ryan L. is in here. Ryan L. says, probably the Cowboys if nobody gets hurt. Dun, dun, dun. Of course, you know, injuries happen. I think the Cowboys are probably best suited right now to win the next championship, but I don't trust Jerry Jones as far as I can throw him.
Yeah.
So, until proven otherwise, I'm not even going to put any thought into the Cowboys winning a Super Bowl. Just please make an NFC title game. That's it. You gotta crawl before you can walk before you can run. That's the Dallas Cowboys. We got Andres in here, 361-882-5397. Andres is weighing in on Wembenyama. Andres says, Wemby is going to be a beast, but he alone is not making the Spurs a championship contender. They need to add several more pieces. Good take. And I agree, and that's something that we've been saying. Look, Wemby's not going to just turn this franchise around into a 50-plus win team. It's going to take R.C. Buford. It's going to take Brian Wright. It's going to take Greg Popovich and company to assemble a cast around him with all the money they got, with all the draft picks they got, and then we can start talking playoffs and second round and maybe Western Conference Finals, etc. Good take right there from Andres. 361-882-5397. If you have any more takes, make sure to get in. We're here with you till 11 o'clock. All right. Let's go ahead. Let's keep on this NBA beat, because on Friday, it was announced by NBA Commissioner Adam Silver that the NBA has suspended Memphis Grizzlies star Ja Morant for 25 games to start the 23-24 season because of conduct detrimental to the league. The Grizzlies suspended Morant from team activities on May 14th after a video on social media circulated showing the All-Star brandishing a firearm. The NBA suspended Morant for 8 games following a similar incident in March when he was seen on Instagram Live holding up a handgun while intoxicated at a Denver nightclub. So there we go. Ja, the decision is final. It's 25 games. Is that too light or just right?
I would say, without the statement that the NBA made, which made it sound a lot worse than I think the situation might actually be, it should be more. But I mean, we're talking about, that's what, over a quarter, not a quarter, a fifth of the season to start out. That's a decent amount, in all honesty.
That's a third.
It's about a third of the season.
Which, I mean, it's a lot, but I think with something like this, the fact that it wasn't the first time, and he said the same statement when he did the same thing the first time as he has now, it's to be seen. If he does something more, I think in that time frame, you have to go at least half the season, if not the whole season, if he does it again.
And please, I mean, I'm not even the biggest Ja Morant fan. I'm not the biggest Grizzlies fan, but for the sake of that young man, just please, dude, like stay out of trouble, baby. Just stay out of trouble.
And not just that, but for the sake of the NBA and ratings, because it's not even up for debate. I mean, he is so fun to watch, and he absolutely makes the Grizzlies a better team and brings in more ratings and more money for the NBA.
You're right about that. Aiden, what are your thoughts? Was 25 games too light or just right?
Probably just right. I'm leaning towards like I probably would have done like 16 to 20 or something like that. I will say though, it is the off season. It wasn't like, I know he promised not to do it again. Here's the thing, it wasn't even his Instagram Live, it was his homies in the driver's seat. and it was funny.
Yeah.
The homie, whatever his name is, I'm gonna call him homie. He pans to Ja Morant and he sees that he's waving the gun, and then he quickly pans back to himself like
he tried to save him.
He knew he messed up. So
yeah.
At that point, I'm like, it's not Ja Morant doing it himself, so I would have been a little bit lighter. So but still, it's still bad. But it is the off season though. It wasn't like during the NBA season where there was an issue or did they even bring it to the team camp or whatnot.
Yeah, that was the first incident.
So it's the off season, so I would have been a little bit lighter, but still, yeah.
The NBA on Friday said Morant, this is what the NBA statement was, that Morant, quote, wielded the firearm while knowing that he was being recorded, despite having made commitments to the NBA and public statements that he would not repeat the conduct for which he was previously disciplined. So the NBA pretty much said, look, you said you weren't going to do it again. Hello, dum-dum. You did it again. We got to give you this 25 games. Now, if this was David Stern's NBA and not Adam Silver, because personally, I think Adam Silver is very soft. I think he's a player's owner. And
commissioner.
Commissioner, yeah. He's a player's commissioner, and I just feel like he's kind of the guy that wants to be friends with all the players and wants to be in that circle. As, his predecessor, David Stern, was more of a hard ass, more of a totalitarian.
Yeah.
If this was David Stern's NBA, it would have been 40 games. It would have been half a season. And I think if I was the commissioner in this situation, and of course I'm just armchairing here, I'm being radio host in Corpus Christi, I would have probably went 40 games and sent a damn message. Like, seriously, dude, quit effing up. Quit jacking around, man. You are one of the next great American players. You're someone who we can build the league around. You're someone that children look up to. Quit jacking around.
And not to politicize anything, but I think it also plays into the fact, the state of society with how much gun violence there is, to see somebody who is in the limelight, who is such a significant figure in the NBA, treating a firearm as if it was pretty much just a toy.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
That was one of the arguments from Ja Morant's camp was, it was a toy gun. Seriously, dude. Come on, bro. Foot in mouth. You sound like an idiot. So there we go. 361-882-5397. Weigh in on that if you please. There is some rumors out there that the New Orleans Pelicans could be trying to deal Zion Williamson. That is actual talk out there, and one of the teams that is interested in this Zion potential trade is the Houston Rockets. There are some rumors out there that the Rockets are very interested in possibly acquiring Zion.
No, do not go to Houston. Do not lavish in the strip club life of this is
James Harden 2.0.
This is
he'd
a
be
lot
worse.
of this is a lot of fire being ignited. There's a lot of gasoline about to ignite to a fire. Do not go to. I mean, Nolans is not. I mean, they have a scene too, but it's not like Houston.
Oh, goodness.
And I know a couple of people in Houston that work in those clubs. It is wild. So.
Oh, you do. Interesting.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that off the air.
So Zion Williamson has played in just 114 games since entering the league as the number 1 pick back in 2019. Played 62 games in his first year, 61 in his second, 55 in his third, and 45 games just this past year. Injuries have taken his toll on Zion. So there are rumors out there that Zion could be dealt by the New Orleans Pelicans. Another rumor that's out there, and this one's actually been confirmed by both parties, Bradley Beal's about to be dealt by the Wizards, and Bradley Beal pretty much has his pick of where he wants to go. And the Suns have jumped into the Bradley Beal sweepstakes, trying to team up Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal.
But there's also the Heat, right?
Yeah,
I feel
the Heat are one of the teams also.
I feel like the Heat have more to offer in terms of assets because the Suns have like zero bench.
If the Spurs wanted to jump in,
I wouldn't.
Get a scorer. Spurs needed someone who could put up buckets. I'm just saying, if the Spurs wanted to expedite the let's go for it, possible. But I don't think the Spurs will. I don't think they'll do that.
I don't think so either.
I mean, who would the Suns trade? Ayton?
Ayton and Chris Paul?
But Chris Paul... But he's a free agent, so
I think it hasn't processed yet.
Yeah.
I think it would be a thing where he gets traded and the team has the option to either keep that waiver in or keep him.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah,
I'm not
like
sure
the
how
Wizards
that works.
could eat his contract.
all this will stop a pudgy Serbian man.
Yeah. And
Remember, LeBron fans, y'all used to always say, "Oh, this to stop LeBron." All of this to stop. His time is done. It's all this to stop a pudgy Serbian man.
Speaking of the pudgy Serbian man, there's a video that Aiden just shared with me. Nikola Jokic has made it back home in time for his horse racing. And it's a video of Nikola Jokic. He's back. He's in Serbia. He's getting a hero's welcome, and he's sitting down at the racetrack, ready to watch his horses race. What a
Somebody,
what a moment. What a moment that is.
Somebody trolled Twitter, man, speaking of Serbian, and be like, you want to watch a good family film about Serbia? Watch a Serbian film.
Oh, my God.
Do not.
No.
Do not fall for that.
Oh, what? Good Lord.
Do not fall for that. Alex knows what I'm talking about.
Watch what?
It's called a Serbian. Just do not watch it.
Okay, I'm not.
It is regarded as one of the worst movies of all time.
Why would you put that out there in the ether? Now you're going to have people who are listening possibly curious about this.
We are warning them. This
Do not watch. It's titled a Serbian film.
If you're going to go any deeper on what we are saying, just look up the overview of it. I beg of you, do not watch it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's move on.
And I didn't look up if this was true or not, but there was reports saying that he couldn't find his Finals MVP trophy.
That is true.
It is. And people were upset saying this whole like nonchalant attitude and
so what?
Not really caring is like a little bit overblown and he should really start caring more.
Who cares?
He's not here for hardware. He's not here to just rack up hardware and MVPs. He's here to win championships. He's here to leave a legacy, and he's here most of all to just play basketball.
I'm just here to win championship. Yeah, exactly. Like this whole notion that this certain NBA fan base, this certain sect of the fan base out there has that Nikola Jokic doesn't care about the game the way like Kobe Bryant cared about the game or the way Michael Jordan cared about the game. Look, not everybody lives and breathes basketball, Hardo. Like, chill out.
And
some people just like to go to work and have a good time and be good and then go home and chill.
And if he truly has this sort of mindset going into contract talks, if he really takes a low ball offer, all of you guys are going to be singing a really crazy tune when none of your players are taking these lowball offers so your team can build a championship contender.
I mean, Jokic just signed till 2028, right? I believe he signed an extension before in the offseason, so.
And he's still young. I'm not saying he can't sign another one.
Hey, NBA fan bases and teams, if y'all don't like the way Jokic is celebrating a championship, how about you beat the man and his team? How about you beat the Nuggets?
You can't. The man is unguardable.
Okay? Find a way. Figure it out.
There is no way.
Figure it out.
Figure it out, Lakers. Figure it out, Suns. Figure it out, Heat, or whoever comes out of the East.
Figure it out, Wemby. You got this. You got this, Wemby. You got this, Wemby. And that's going to wrap up our NBA discussion. 361-882-5397. Weigh in. Who wins their first championship? The Cowboys, Spurs, or Longhorns? Who wins it first? Who wins it next? Hit us up on the text line, 361-882-5397. When we come back, Major League Baseball is screwing the Oakland A's fan base. I got a passionate Oakland A's fan talking about that. We'll play the audio. We'll talk about the situation coming up after the break. Welcome back to the Sunday Sports Rush. James, Aiden, and Alex with you till 11 a.m. Coming up in 10 minutes, we'll have Michael Connor of Sports Talk 790. He's their Astros insider. He's going to join us on the line to talk about the Astros losing 8 out of their past 11 games. Things are in disarray in Houston. We'll pick Michael Connor's brain on that coming up at 10:30. Shout out to Crossroads Clinical Research for sponsoring our show. Right now, they have a weight loss study going on. Crossroads is currently looking for volunteers to try this weight loss pill called Manjaro. But there are some conditions. You have to be diabetic and have heart problems to qualify for this study. So if you need to lose a few pounds and you have those conditions, call our friend Jerry over at Crossroads, 361-288-4668. That's 361-288-4668. Or visit them at number3cra.com. That is number3cra.com. Thank you to Crossroads for sponsoring the show. All right. Little quick Astros news here that just came down from Chandler Rome, who is my favorite Astros, reporter out there for The Athletic. He's always dialed in, locked in.
Yeah, a lot of Astros fans don't like him.
Well, look, they don't like him because he's not a fan.
Yeah,
he's just
he says it how he sees it.
He's just a straight up reporter.
Yeah, he says it how he sees it, and
so apparently Sean Dubin, right-handed pitcher, has been called up to the big squad, and the Astros have optioned Brandon Bielak back to AAA. Brandon Bielak started yesterday's game in the 10-3 loss to the Reds. So Bielak is back to AAA. Sean Dubin will work as a reliever for the time being, according to Chandler Rome. He's available out of the bullpen today.
Yeah, I believe Urquidy's close to being back.
Yes.
So I think that's probably why he got optioned back. Because JP France, he's been solid.
He's been solid. It's just he
hasn't gotten any run support.
Oh, my God. Hardly any run support, dude. Okay, I know we're going to talk the A's real quickly, but I do have an Astros note about JP France and the run support that he's been getting. So run support over 9 innings. This is a stat. It measures how much a team scores when a pitcher's on the mound. JP France has the lowest run support over 9 innings on the Astros with 2.85 runs. In fact, among all MLB pitchers with a minimum of 40 innings pitched, he's ranked 124th out of 127. When JP France is on the mound, he gets no run support. 124th out of 127. That's insane, dude. And that's because he puts up quality starts.
The Astros need a bat.
The bats. And, of course, we're going to talk to Michael Connor coming up in a few minutes. We're going to ask him all this information, all these questions, and he'll have the answers for us, so stick around for that. Major League Baseball is screwing over the Oakland Athletics, and it's pissing me off.
I think you're not the only one. I think it's everybody. And while, yes, the move is likely inevitable at this point, as I believe they've already gotten approved the funding for the new stadium.
And that's correct. It's happening.
But them moving to Vegas is not good. Completely depleting Oakland of all of their fun teams that they've had over the years is not a good thing.
It reminds me, and I told you this off air.
It's like the Sonics.
It reminds me of whenever the Sonics left Seattle and moved to Oklahoma City. It reminds me exactly of that. You're just ripping away the history of this fan base. The A's, when they're good, they're fun. And that Oakland crowd.
The fans show out. And, they showed it with the reverse boycott.
So,
they were there for a purpose.
So the reverse boycott drew 27,759 fans, the largest home crowd of the season, and more than triple the team's home average this year of 8,555. We have Rob Manfred talking about the reverse boycott. Here is this pretentious a-hole, Commissioner Rob Manfred, just absolutely taking a big old dump on this reverse boycott from the A's.
A's game on Tuesday when the fans came out for the reverse boycott.
I was actually at a dinner with the owners.
Did you read the coverage?
I did.
I
saw the
impression of that.
I mean, it was great. It's great to see what is this year, almost an average Major League Baseball crowd in the facility for one night. That's a great thing.
Just such a backhanded compliment. Like, that's cute.
Well, I mean, the commissioners work for the owners. He has to bootlick John Fisher. He has to, saber up and season that boot for his licking.
I want to play the A's fans audio real quick. This was an impassionate A's fan who they interviewed prior to the boycott, and it's about a minute long, so I want to play it right now so we can hear it. But just listen to this man and what the A's mean to Oakland, and you'll sum up exactly what this means to the Oakland fan base who's about to lose their team.
Games, and it was like magic. My dad didn't know what to do with me, so he brought me here. And we used to walk across that BART bridge to games, and it was like magic. And I watched Dwayne Murphy and Ricky Henderson out there running the outfield, stealing bases, hat flying off. It was beautiful, and that's what made me fall in love with baseball. And then I had a little brother who was 13 years younger than me, and I didn't know what to do with him. So what did I do? I brought him here. I brought him to baseball games. I brought him to opening day. His birthday's in April, and we would come to opening day every year. And when I went away to college, I would send him tickets to opening day every year, and he would call me for the national anthem, and he would call me for the seventh inning stretch, and he would call me for Jason Giambi's first at bat as a Yankee so I could hear the boos. And then when I had kids, I knew what to do with them, and so what did I do? I brought them here. My kids are so at home here, they come in here and they take off their jackets and they drop them in a corner and they run off because they feel like they're at home, not like they're in a place with 20,000 strangers or 4,000 strangers. And so that's what baseball in Oakland is. This is generations. This is like father to son to brother to child, and you're ripping that away for what? You're trying to fill a stadium with 70% visiting fans? That's ridiculous. Baby Gap, Nepo baby, guy who inherited everything. We work for ours. That's what we do in Oakland. We work. Everything that we have, we work for. This is blue collar. This is who we are, and we want this team to stay.
Damn, man.
Wow.
Talk about just absolutely going off, the passion, the generations of just that one fan. That's just one fan. Imagine everybody else who grew up with the A's like that. It's sad. And I'm not the biggest A's fan because they have become a rival of the Astros since since the Astros joined the AL West in 2013. But I feel for a fan base like that that's getting their team ripped away by a selfish owner who is self-sabotaging this damn franchise. I hate it.
Yeah, man. And intentionally not spending money. I remember what was a year ago, like they didn't spend any money on the team.
They were pretty much at the point where they had to start spending money to stay above the threshold, the minimum that they could go to, and it's just a travesty, honestly. A legacy team that has seen some of the greatest players in so many different aspects of the game come through and make their mark, and we're not going to see Oakland as a team anymore. It's going to be Vegas, and it's just not going to be the same.
It won't, and it's sad. Sad day for baseball, and that owner, just absolutely pathetic what he's doing to that fan base. Absolutely pathetic. All right, that wraps up that segment. Coming up next, we have Michael Connor on the line of Sports Talk 790, the flagship station in Houston. He's their Astros insider. We're going to talk about what the hell is happening with the Astros. Stick around. Michael Connor's coming up after the break. Welcome back, Sunday Sports Rush. James Espinosa, Adin Ducker, Alex Weister with you till 11 a.m. Got about 30 minutes or so left with you this morning. Appreciate all of you guys and gals getting in here on the text line 361-882-5397. Appreciate y'all riding with us on this Father's Day. Without further ado, I've been wanting to talk to this guy for quite a while. He's one of my favorite Astros follows. He's an Astros insider with Sports Talk 790, the flagship station of the World Series champion Houston Astros. It's Michael Conner. Michael, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. We appreciate you, of course, taking the time out of your day on this Father's Day, especially, to be here with us to talk about our favorite team down here in Corpus Christi, the Houston Astros. Now, there was some news that just broke, not even about 15 minutes ago, in regards to starting pitcher Brandon Bielak. He's been optioned to AAA, and right-handed pitcher Sean Dubin is being brought up to the big club. You got any reactions to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brandon Bielak was always going to be sent back at some point. I think it's a little surprising that's happening right now, especially for Dubin, who's not pitched a ton in AAA this year. And if you just go look at the numbers are terrible. So I'm not really sure what the thought process is there, other than maybe Brandon Bielak needs to get back, and they need a fresh arm that's available to them right now. But I'm not surprised that Brandon Bielak is gone. I thought at some point he would be if everybody got healthy. I thought really when Urquidy got back, that'd be the spot he'd take.
Interesting. And so you bring up Urquidy. When is the sense that he will be back with the Astros?
I mean, everything sounds like it's truly on line for him to get back around that All-Star break or just after that All-Star break, ramping up, getting off the mound again. So he's been very optimistic when we get to talk to him about where he's at. He says he's feeling good. Everything's going in the right direction, and it sounds like the timeline that they've given is truly going to be that timeline.
We're here with Michael Conner, Sports Talk 790, Astros insider, right here on the Sunday Sports Rush. Now, Michael, yesterday some news broke as well that Michael Brantley took batting practice on the field yesterday. A lot of you guys were, tweeting and talking about that. How close is Brantley to a return to the Astros lineup?
Dana Brown won't put a timeline on it, the general manager, and I think that's the best way you have to look at it if you're a fan of the team. Like, if he plays for the Astros this season, I think it's great. If he doesn't, I'm not going to be surprised at this point. I mean, we left Florida from spring training, and it was, hey, he's going to be ready by the end of April. And then it was, oh, it's going to be a few weeks into May. And then it's, well, it's going to be a few more weeks. And then he goes and plays games. And all of a sudden, it's, hey, he's going to be back on this road trip when we're in Anaheim. He's going to play. And then, his body hasn't responded. So, I mean, it's nice to see that they're ramping him back up and he's going through everything. But until he gets back into games with Sugar Land or maybe down in Corpus, wherever he ends up based on scheduling for that, until we see how his body responds for it, you cannot really put any kind of timeline on it.
Yeah, and that's the sense we get. When you hear Dana Brown on Sports Talk 790 up there in Houston, when he does his weekly hits and stuff like that, very vague when it comes to the injuries. That's what I've noticed out of Dana Brown is, and just the Astros, front office in general, is that they don't like to put specific timelines. They kind of just leave it very vague for the fan to ponder. And of course, Michael, firsthand, that gets the fans talking and everybody worried and this, that, and the other. So, Lance McCullers yesterday spoke about his injury. What did you take away from what Lance had to say to the media?
I mean, he's obviously gutted by it, as you expected him to be. And, I think it was good that he recognized the fact that he needs to step up and be part of, of this franchise, because this was the year, if you go look at all the years that they really needed him. I mean, back in 2021, he stepped up when Justin Verlander was gone for his Tommy John recovery that year, and he gave you 28 starts, and he was excellent. I mean, the guy got Cy Young votes that year. And he disappeared in that start against the White Sox in the ALDS, and then it was, hey, he's gone for most of the next season, but he got 11 starts last year, 8 in the regular season, 3 in the postseason, and you were thinking coming into spring training, okay, he's back, he's ready to go, and we got down there to Florida, and hey, he's got this minor strain, but it's ballooned into this. It's a good thing that they've gotten it fixed. There's no point in continuing to go through it. You look back on it and you say, hey, he probably should have done the surgery last year, if it was truly on the table. Like, the Astros could have survived that, and they're surviving now without him, but they could have used him in a big way this season. I mean, he's going to have to come back and really provide, because by the time he gets on the field, basically going to have 3 years left on that contract that he's only pitched 11 games under so far. Got a lot to fulfill in terms of the dollars that they gave him to really get the return on the investment.
And what do you see as his future, Michael? I mean, do you see him coming back as a full-fledged starter, or can you see him maybe taking some kind of bullpen role based on the way his arm is shaking out?
I know that everybody's always done the bullpen thing for McCullers. They're never going to pitch him out of the bullpen unless it's a necessity. They always have and always will use him as a starter because, number one, the stuff is too good not to when he's going. He has top-of-the-rotation type of stuff, and he's put up numbers at times that are and pitched in big games where you go, that's a guy that if he goes out and he gives you 6-7 innings of that, he's going to give up very few runs, very few hits, and he's going to shut that lineup down that he's going against every single night. Now, when he comes back, I have no idea, like a lot of people, really how the recovery from this injury goes and, what it looks like for him when he comes back. Maybe they have to ease him back into a roll out of the bullpen. But for his long-term future, he's going to be a starter. He wants to be a starter, and the Astros have never entertained anything other than him being a starter.
We're here with Michael Connor, Sports Talk 790, Astros insider. Michael, man, 10-3 loss to the Reds yesterday. Astros have lost 8 of their last 11 games, really struggling right now in these past couple of weeks. What exactly is happening, Michael? I mean, it has to be a myriad of factors, but can you pinpoint one thing that this team desperately needs?
Well, I think over the last couple of weeks, and you go back to the road trip before this homestand, they started to play sloppy baseball is one of the things that stuck out to me. They've made a lot of mental errors. They made a lot of physical errors in the field. It feels just like a lack of focus at times, things that we've not been used to seeing out of them. But the number one issue continues to be, and I think that this is where they have to obviously go out and make a ton of moves. And it's frustrating that this is going on at this point where you've hit this skid, because you're always going to hit a skid during the season. We all know that. It's 162 games. It's a marathon. You're going to have portions of the season where you're just not playing your best baseball. They've timed this up, unfortunately, where the Rangers have been just as bad, and they haven't been able to gain ground. Of course, they lose a game yesterday, but, it's just frustrating from that standpoint. The offense is not good enough. They do not have an offense that can win a World Series. They do not have an offense right now that can win a series unless their pitching went out and gave up 1 or 2 runs every single game. They're inconsistent. They lack thump. I know that that's easy to say, too, when you're without Yordan Alvarez at the moment, and they're going to be out without him for a few more weeks. They have to make moves to make their offense better because this is, of all the runs that we've watched for this team since 2015, really, it's the worst offense they've had, basically, in all those years. It's
insane to think about, man. I mean, we were just talking about it earlier on the show where, JP France is, he's pitched pretty well for a rookie, and he's just hasn't had run support. He's 124th out of 127. And we saw, just this past week, right, with the Framber start and then the Javier start, it's just the offense has been struggling mightily. And, yeah, that's concerning, like you just said, especially with Yordan out for the next couple of weeks or so. We'll see what happens with his oblique. But I agree with you, man. I think a bat or a couple of bats are desperately needed for this lineup right now. Do you have any names that have been floated out there as possible Astros trade targets?
I know the one that keeps, getting floated around with people, and Dana Brown brings it up in terms of the left-handed bat is somewhere that they'd look. That's, of course, I think when you have a general manager acknowledging that we could be looking for a left-handed bat, that kind of tells you a lot about the situation for Brantley, that they're not that confident that they can count on him to come back and actually play baseball. And even if he does, how much can he play consistently? Cody Bellinger's a name that's been thrown around a lot. You're going to be probably looking at rental type of pieces. I don't know what the history of Bellinger, if it's going to be something that matches up, but he's affordable, probably won't cost you a ton of prospects. He had a good season. He's having a good season before he got banged up a little bit. The market, I think, for the bats is probably going to be a little bit easier for them to operate in. Question is, how deep do they want to go? Do they want a guy with control? Do they want a guy that doesn't have, or they want a true rental piece? They don't have a lot of prospect capital. That's still the unfortunate spot of where they're at, is that they're not going to be able to make, I think, the kind of impact trades that people would prefer to see them make. I get a lot of people tweeting me all the time, like, hey, well, why don't they go save Paul Goldschmidt from the St. Louis Cardinals? And I'm like, okay, that'd be great and everything. It'd be awesome, but they don't have anything to offer the Cardinals that the Cardinals are going to want.
Yeah. Let's just go out and grab one of the best, first basemen in the game for, like you said, like very little capital down here in Corpus Christi or up in Sugarland, etc. Man, you bring up Bellinger. That's very interesting considering, the past that Bellinger and the Astros have had. I mean, look, if they were to bring him in, obviously the clubhouse would have to okay that. I'm just, I know fans will be thinking, oh, man, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if that's a good fit.
Yeah, I think fans would take it harder than players would. Now, look, a lot of those guys that were on that team and were in that era obviously aren't here anymore. There's very few of those left. I just think it's all media stuff. It's all big boy talk and everything.
Yeah.
And, there was real – it still would be something that probably had to be addressed, I'm sure. But I don't think that it would be as big of a deal inside of a clubhouse as people think. They're all professionals. They're all there to win a baseball game. And it's a pretty good environment that's taken in a lot of different characters over the years. And, there's never really been – that's been the impressive thing. There's never been locker room issues through it all. They've always – no matter who they bring in, stay as a cohesive unit.
We're here with Michael Connor, Sports Talk 790, Astros Insider. Michael, just a couple of more with you, my man, and we appreciate your time being with us this morning. Jose Abreu, a little bit of a hot streak these past couple of weeks. What are your thoughts on, of course, Jose struggling the first couple of months? Not the best, but he has turned it up just a little bit these past couple of weeks. Are you optimistic about him continuing this hot streak?
Yeah, I think you have to feel a lot better about where the player is. It was a brutal first couple of months of the season. They worked on a lot of the mechanical things, and his pitch selection in terms of what he was swinging at was really, really poor. Something that he's not been. He's coming off of a year last year where it was his best year in terms of selecting the pitches that he swung at. And his walk rate was incredible. I heard something from somebody in Chicago not too long ago about. Unfortunately, I think they thought part of his problem was, and he had the huge decline in power last year. He was apparently, this is from a few people up there, that he got to the point because he's an older player in his career, and, it's harder to get contracts when you're an older player like that, where he was worried about getting that, and he kind of changed up the mechanics of his swing last season to guarantee that he was getting hits all over the place and not really selling out for power as much and just selling out for singles and whatever to keep the OPS number up, the batting average number up. And I get it. Like, that's a very real thing that happens to players. And then he got here, and whatever happened, like, the easy thing to do was just to bust him on the inside. And that's been the most encouraging thing, is that you can see he's starting to be able to hit the fastball inside. He's not chasing some of them that are off the plate as much. So I think there's been a good amount of evidence in the last couple of weeks. The at-bats are better. He's never going to get back to Jose Abreu numbers this season. Like, it's too far off. He's got too many at-bats in this season. But an encouraging sign, and they need him now more than ever.
Oh, no doubt about that, especially, earlier in the week, was it against the Nationals where he just turned and burned that fastball on top of the train tracks? Yeah, that was encouraging to see, so hopefully he can keep that up. Last question for you, Michael, and of course, once again, appreciate your time. Are you still confident that this team can still win the American League? Do you think this team can still make it to an ALCS, or is this just a different type of Astros squad, like you mentioned, that we've seen in these past few years?
From their belief in themselves and their mentality overall, absolutely they can be that team. My personal belief right now, they're not good enough. I know that that's an unpopular thing, and I don't even want to say it myself. Like, of course, I would prefer to watch them go and get all the way back to the ALCS, the World Series, or whatever, because I've been spoiled as hell getting to watch this and be at all this stuff for as many years as I've been at, and I would prefer it to not end. They are, they've got some good pieces still in place. They still know how to win ball games, but they are missing some things in some key areas. I think that they need a third pitcher to set themselves up into a series where Hunter Brown would slot back to a fourth guy, and I really think that they have to get at least one significant bat into this lineup with some pop now, because they're just not good enough offensively. They can get through a series with their first two guys in the rotation. They'll be a playoff team for sure, but right now, if you're asking me if they were starting the playoffs in a week, I would expect an early exit, unfortunately.
Hey, man, that's just how it's going so far this year. But, like you said, marathon, not a sprint, 162. So Dana Brown and company, they got their work cut out for them. Let's see if they can provide the necessary reinforcements for the Astros going forward. Michael, man, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. And got to catch up later on in the season, man. I think that'd be fun.
Absolutely. You guys let me know.
All righty, there he goes, Michael Conor. Have yourself a great rest of your day, and happy Father's Day, my guy. Talk to you down the road. There he goes. Michael Conor, Sports Talk 790. Follow him on Twitter at MC790. One of the best Astros Twitters follows you can have. Astros Insider, always breaking down the latest news. That was good stuff right there. We're going to kick it to break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about the interview, and then, of course, it's a sports grab bag. Keep it locked. Sunday Sports Rush, welcome back. Last segment of the show, shout out to Michael Conor for getting in. Sports Talk 790, Astros Insider. Follow him on Twitter at MC790. One of the best Astros follows you can have, always breaking it down. Appreciate him being on the show. I knocked out the spot read already, Aiden. Already did it, so we're good. But yes, it is the sports grab bag. We're back, James, Aiden, and Alex. And yeah, good stuff from Michael Conor. I appreciate that. And like he said, the one thing that he said at the end, I asked him, are the Astros still an American League contender? Are they still somebody who could get back to the World Series? He said right now, as currently constituted, they're not good enough to win the American League. And you know what? I think that's fair.
I agree, yeah.
I think that's a fair take. The way they've been struggling, I really think that's a fair take.
My only hope is that, and we're starting to see it now, is that the Rangers and Angels bullpens are so bad. We saw the Angels blew a 8-2 lead last night
against the Royals.
like their bullpens are so bad, and I know the Astros bats in the past season, they heat up post All-Star break around July. So I'm just hoping,
Yeah. No, I got you. I'm hoping that the Rangers can continue to slide, and hopefully the Astros can get hot. I mean, they got the last game against the Reds today. Ronel Blanco's going to start. Hopefully they get a win, and then they got the Mets coming up this week.
It's a big. I remember I was at the last year's Mets series. Maybe I need to go again. Maybe I need to ignite a fire in these Astros.
You probably do need to get back to Houston at some point. You seem to have a lot of.
I was planning on going because Altuve came back, right?
Yeah.
But then Jordan got hurt. I'm like,
You seem to have a lot of good fortune in Houston.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part. It's a Sports Grab Bag Sunday Sports Rush, 361-882-5397. We got Justin Merrill in here on the text line.
Biggest Stack fan we know.
Yeah. He's talking about the Oakland A's situation and how Major League Baseball is screwing over the Oakland fan base. But this is Justin Merrill's take. Justin says, the days of the Bash Brothers are over and they're not coming back. That city is garbage. Wow. What did Oakland ever do to you, Justin? What did Oakland ever do to you? But thank you for getting in on the text line. We appreciate you. 361-882-5397. Sports Grab Bag. Shout out to Lou Williams, retiring from the NBA, the longtime sixth man, calling it a career. Shout out to him.
The all-time leading bench scorer, which is phenomenal because there's been some amazing six men to come through the NBA. Of course, he's played for many teams. No matter what team he was on, he was always a spark plug off the bench. He was a guy where if you needed points and you couldn't find anybody else to go to, he was your guy.
Yeah, man. Lou Will. You know what I mean? So definitely an end of an era, so to speak, for that sixth man, claim as one of the best sixth men in the league, Lou Williams, officially calling it career.
That early 2000s group of six men that came in, like the Manu Ginobili.
Yes, Ginobili was one of the pioneers of the six men. Yeah,
and the
Jamal Crawfords. Yes, dude.
We just don't see that anymore.
Talk about
those guys who are like guaranteed 15 to 20 point per game scorers that'll come off the bench and for just absolutely no reason are just unguardable and have the best dribble moves that you've ever seen.
I agree, man. A little bit of an end of an era, so to speak, right there. Some more sports grab bag to get to. Shout out to the United States soccer team for whooping the arse of Mexico 3-0 on Thursday night in the CONCACAF Nations semifinal. Christian Pulisic scored 2 goals, and then Ricardo Pepi scored the third and final goal to end Mexico. There were 4 red cards, 2 for each side, and things got so bad that the Mexican team started fighting the United States team. The Mexican fans started throwing beer and objects onto the field, and then the game had to be brought to an end in stoppage time because the Mexican fans were using their usual anti-gay chant. So just a bad look overall from the Mexican soccer team, the Mexican soccer fans, the Mexican Soccer Federation. Just the Mexico.
I was expecting this.
Mexico is such a front runner when it comes to soccer that when they're winning, it's good, it's a giant party. When they're losing, they're a bunch of big bitches.
Wow.
That's what they are. In the United States, whip their ass, tres a cero. The United States has either won or drawn in the past 6 matches against Mexico, 5 wins and 1 draw.
Who was? Yeah, who? Oh, wait, continue.
Mexico hasn't beat the United States in 4 years.
So who was coaching the U.S. while Berhalter wasn't signed yet?
They had a couple of coaches. This last coach, what was his name? BJ. Dang it, man. It escaped me, but yeah, Berhalter's back.
Yeah.
They had a couple of interim coaches, and now Berhalter's back, and a lot of people are up in arms about that, but Berhalter's a good coach. And a lot of the United States players are in favor of having Berhalter back. So, I mean, where's the problem here?
So I guess the Reina situation was more like...
That was just...
Against Reina.
Reina was the problem. It was Reina's parents that were trying to force Berhalter out.
Yeah.
So it didn't work, but there we go. Bob Huggins was arrested for DUI.
Yeah, then I think there's news coming out saying that he's going to resign.
Yeah, he already resigned.
Yeah, just...
There were reports that he had bags of beer cans, empty beer cans in his car. And, man, I think he blew like a .2 something BAC.
Whoa. Yeah, it was .02.
Yeah.
That's pretty high.
That is...
more than 3 times the legal limit.
That's pretty drunk. He's lucky he didn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
Like honestly. So Bob Huggins gone. I don't know if he'll ever coach again. He's 69 years old.
I looked this up. The record BAC count ever recorded was this Polish man. He had a 1.34.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Past the zeros. Not even a 0 point.
Yeah.
1 point.
I hope.
What is that, like 10 times the legal limit?
Yeah.
No, I think it's way more than that.
That's crazy. How was dude not dead?
What is his body, like 1% alcohol at that point? That is
you know, he actually was alive, but then after the accident, he died of his injuries. That's what I saw.
Wow. That's crazy.
That would have been the craziest hangover in human history.
And that wraps up our show. Shout out to Michael Connor, Sports Talk 790, for coming on. We appreciate him breaking down all things Astros. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Have a good day, dads. Have a nice, fun day. Barbecue, drink beers, etc. Don't get a 1.0 BAC, though. Just keep it chill, guys. Keep it chill. Keep it safe. Aiden, great job back there. Alex, amazing job.
Appreciate it.
And, yeah, we're having a good time. For Aiden, for Alex, for myself, James Espinosa, no more questions. We'll talk to you guys next week.